Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I want to remind everybody that you can pre-order your XRP Unleashed documentary, and you can also, they've still got a handful of tickets to the screenings around the country. They've got, they added more tickets for LA, and then they've got more in Boston, New York, DC, Atlanta, Houston. They're sold out in Scottsdale. Now, I have a link in the description of this video. I will be, by the way, I'll be at I think 3 of these things. And so there's a, I'm hearing a plane. There's a, anyway, there's a link in the top of the description of this video if you want to go get your tickets. Okay, Meta Lawman made a very interesting comment about Chris Larson's donation of $10 million worth of XRP to Kamala Harris. Since Chris donated this $10 million, the campaign will have to sell Larson's XRP, presumably on an exchange, to convert it to dollars. Will Harris clear that transaction with Gary Gensler? Will this trade impact the SEC's appeal in the Ripple case? So you can sue a company for 4+ years, the SEC, and at the same time, the Democrat Party can accept donations in that digital asset that the SEC is suing them about. Does that make any freaking sense? No. None of what Gary Gensler has done makes sense. Here's Paul Barron. They're talking about the Bitcoin cycle.
So right now, Evan, you're in the bull camp by far. I think pretty much most of the market is. What's your top on Bitcoin? Do you feel like that 100K is going to be the number psychologically that everybody is going to look at? Or do you feel like this is just maybe a pit stop along the way for Bitcoin?
I think that if you sold at 100K in the long, if you sold at 100K and waited a year, most likely you will be able to get in at lower prices and just following the 4-year cycle. But I could show you kind of my longer term price prediction here. If we look at the weekly and we look at, you know, some of my trend lines, some of my spiral lines. So I think I'm a big 4-year cycle believer. I think you will see the high sometime at the end of 2025, maybe early 26. The lower end, I would say like the absolute lower end that we would see at the end of kind of 2025 would be around 80K. I think we're gonna get well above that. So really like the low end would probably be that 100K, 110K mark at the end of 2025. And then the high to middle range would be like 145, 150. I don't think you would get much above that.
All right, so he's calling for $100,000 to $150,000 Bitcoin. And then this is very interesting, or not, this is interesting because she keeps using a word, and the irony of it is that Bitcoin is tethered to Tether. Listen to what she says.
Everyone is a skeptic before they're a true believer and investor. And pretty soon everyone's going to be embracing Bitcoin because it is really the apex property that gives people around the world the strongest economic rights and the strongest property rights. I mean, everything else you could own is really inferior because everything else has a supply that can change or increase.
That's a lie. XRP supply does not change.
And most things are tethered to decisions of companies or countries. And Bitcoin is global, it's neutral, it's decentralized.
It reminds me of that tweet by CZ Binance where he said that you could do this and this and this as long as it's not tethered.
And really the only thing it's tethered to is the truth of math and physics and energy. So I think it will be adopted by every company as well as every nation state, especially the ones that believe in property rights.
Yep.
Tethered, tethered, tethered. And then here is Shady Scaramucci.
Why are we here and having these conversations today?
They have done an amazing job of building infrastructure and regulatory infrastructure that's very depolitical or apolitical. You know, over the next 15 years, this will be one of the big crypto centers, big financial centers, Anybody in crypto will eventually have an office here, is my prediction.
All right, so we're moving along now. Check this out. This is a new customer alert. This is Guarantee BBVA Crypto, leveraging Ripple custody and IBM to bring highest security and performance to growing its crypto trading platform. That's interesting. And then our old buddy Gary was on Bloomberg.
Mr. Kent, so you're also busy in parallel with the crypto industry. I think there's consensus on the eve of an election that all of those parties involved and responsible want to hammer out some sort of new jurisdictional framework for crypto regulators to make some progress on settling oversight of that industry. Can you talk to us about the work you're doing there and if you're making any progress in that field?
Look, there's nothing incompatible about the ledger technology. You know, it's just this Halloween, it will be 16 years since Satoshi Nakamoto wrote that white paper. So happy sweet 16 in a week. There's nothing incompatible about a ledger technology, a decentralized ledger technology, and the securities laws. And it's important that in the securities markets that investors get to decide on their investments, but they get the proper disclosure, that we guard against conflicts of interest and the like. And we're going to continue to do that at the Securities and Exchange Commission. If a market's ever going to have trust, it also needs to come into compliance. And a lot of this field, and we've seen the challenges in this field where a lot of people have lost money. Regular investors have lost money in a field that's not providing the fundamental disclosure about their projects, about these investment contracts and these schemes. And that it's a field that has a lot of conflicts in the middle of it.
Okay, this guy talking about conflicts. This is an interesting clip posted by the Black Swan Capitalist.
BRICS Pay, which has no definition so far, which is similar to the M-Pay system that is already being implemented. But the IMF and the Bank of International Settlements are involved in it. M-Bridge, sorry. And BRICS wants to do BRICS Bridge based on the M-Bridge. But it has to be completely outside of the framework of the Bank of International Settlements or the IMF. Otherwise, you'll be reproducing a Western hegemony system. Same thing with the reform of the New Development Bank in Shanghai. I'll try to be diplomatic, but it's hard. Most experts know that the NDB is ineffective now because the statutes of the bank are based on the US dollar. How can you build an international, an alternative geoeconomic system based on the currency that you want to bypass? So this brings us to the discussion, a discussion that we had in Moscow this past week. A group of experts, parallel to BRICS, they were discussing the concept of a new reserve currency. But this has to start from scratch. You know, that you have a set of experts that, and then this has to go to BRICS experts, and then has to go to the leaders. So, okay, how we're going to implement a new reserve currency from scratch? So that gives an idea to our audience of the complexity of what's being discussed for months, in fact.
All right, that's an interesting little clip, and so is this. This is Paul Tudor Jones. Hold on one second.
Given all of the things you're saying, are you off buying gold and Bitcoin and
I think all roads lead to inflation. We're going to end up but does all roads lead to inflation? Therefore, gold is a good investment. Is Bitcoin a good investment to you? I'm long gold. I'm long Bitcoin. I think commodities are so ridiculously underowned. So I'm long commodities. I think most young people find their inflation hedges via the NASDAQ. That's also been great. It's probably some combination. I probably have some basket of gold, Bitcoin, commodities, and NASDAQ, something like that. And I would own zero fixed income. If I had my cash, it'd be very short term. The playbook to get out of this, you see it in Japan right now. They have 2% inflation, 30 basis points overnight. They don't want to raise rates. The playbook to get out of this is that you inflate your way out.
Okay. So in DAI XRP, here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about leaked documents. And we're also going to show you some extremely bizarre comments. Wait till you see this. That's in DAIXRP.com. I'm a digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button. Tell your friends and family, get ready for some leaked documents and some bizarre comments. Thanks for listening.